Anyways, this is apparently very interesting. Something odd happened here. Something odd happened here. Female pilot ignores commands from male chief and it backfires miserably. By Levi Nix, I think is what it called. It's gonna be something. Anyways, let's go. Let's see.
This female Black Hawk pilot crashed.
Dog, wait, there's a dog. I need to show this. Move me over real quick. Never mind, there's a dog. There's a dog. Dog. See this? Dog. It is a dog. I love dogs. Perfect. A good boy or good girl, I don't know.
Into a passenger plane and kills almost 70 people. We don't know if she...
Whoa, 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 whoa. Restart. Whoa.
This female Black Hawk pilot crashes into a passenger plane and kills almost 70 people. We don't know if she intended...
Oh? What the fuck are we doing? How did that... What the heck? How did that happen? How did that happen? Australian Shepherd, best boy. True.
Intentionally ignored commands from her chief, or if this was something a little bit deeper. Let's get straight off into this.
This woman is responsible for the deaths of almost 70 people in the Black Hawk accident because her ego was too big. The captain of the Black Hawk, Rebecca Lobach, repeatedly ignored her instructor and did not listen to her co-captain.
What the how does that even happen? Dude, if my boss says, do this, I will do this. How does this even work? Is it sexist to say I'd feel safer with a male pilot, even as a woman? No, it probably isn't. No, it probably isn't. I don't know what the statistics say to, like, complications, accidents, and stuff. I don't think so. I don't know. I don't... It's interesting. How does this happen? How do you even get to that point?
When they gave her instructions to avoid the airplane. 64 people, including 12 children, lost.
So, she didn't listen at all? She didn't even try to dodge? How?
Their lives because she didn't want to turn the opposite direction to avoid the airplane. When the Black Hawk was 15 seconds away from crossing paths with the airplane, the captain's crew told her to turn left. This move would have opened up more space between the helicopter and the airplane. She did not turn left. Minutes before the accident, her instructor told her that the helicopter was flying way too high. This height could easily cause an accident. Captain Lobach told her instructor that she would lower the helicopter soon. Guess what? She never did that too.
Wow.
Oh, holy shit. What the fuck are we doing? How does that even happen? You can't just think, what? Maybe mental illness? I don't know. But I would assume that these usually get, like, mental health checkups on a regular basis. I'd hope so. Women can be good pilots, but I'd always be worried they got the job simply for being a woman rather than because of talent, you know? Yeah, due to quotas and everything. Too bad you can also apply this to, like, general, also minorities, unfortunately.
Yeah, so this story is devastating, absolutely devastating, but there's something to this, which is why I wanted to cover it today. Let me know what you guys think. I've had female managers, I've had female bosses. There's something about women that are placed in seniority positions where they have superiority or there's a hierarchy of them being higher than someone else. I've seen more women in management positions abuse power more than men. Chat, put a 1 in the chat if you agree. I had a sales manager one time.
I think there's actually statistics that do in fact confirm that female... No. I think this... Don't take this for the absolute truth. This is what I've heard and read. As far as I'm aware, female managers, female bosses are much harsher on, in fact, not just everyone, but especially female workers. As far as I've heard. I could be wrong, but there's apparently some studies out there that say that this is the case. And also, like, in general, here's a fun fact. Apparently, women hairdressers that take care of women that look prettier, I usually like get a worse service because they're prettier. I don't know how that works. Yeah, it sounds intentional. I don't know how this works, how this happens, but it must be.
Way back in the day, back in my day in Austin, Texas, I was working at a massive company, and I had a female manager. She would be super hard on all.
I also look at this with where I was in a lower position than a woman. I've had this in a similar way. However, I also have experienced the opposite. The woman that I was working with when I did my voluntary social years in the primary school, the one that was basically in charge for me and the other lady that I did it with, I think this was actually really cute. She had this really like motherly vibe, which was like so cute. So I've experienced the opposite as well. Like somebody's like kind of, I don't know, she was like really like motherly. I don't know how to put it. It's weird. It sounds weird when I say it, but that's what it is. Like this like looking after you and like taking care and looking that you do everything correct and like be like, you know, it just was really cool, that experience. I will forever remember that woman. She was so great. I think they abused power because they try to imitate men in power, but because they have a skewed idea of men, they end up acting worse. Plus, they're harsher to women because they're insecure. That could be. You're a woman. You would know more.
The guys, but anytime a girl came by, she'd be like, "It's okay. You don't have to. It's fine. You don't have to hit your numbers. We won't fire you." But then they would fire a guy left and right. They would fire guys left and right if
I don't know. I've not made that experience.
They didn't hit their numbers. Have you guys had that same experience? I don't know what it is, but it seems like when women are placed in positions of power, they abuse that said power. This is crazy, though. It's an absolutely wild story.
I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but
Why did you put that in there? No, not that clip. Female Black Hawk pilots when they're flying straight towards an airplane. Holy fuck. Why did you put that in there? That's diabolical. That's horrendous. Why that clip of Selena Gomez when she was crying about the deportations of illegals in the States? Interesting.
yeah, I don't know
Interesting choice for a clip. Girl was making a video. Okay.
what to do. I'll try everything, I promise.
The Army
Bro, the internet, oh my God, that was terrible. The internet is undefeated.
The Army just released the pilot's name of the Black Hawk helicopter that collided with the American Airlines flight 2 days ago, and her name is Rebecca Lobach.
She seems so happy there, too.
Rebecca was one of the 3 soldiers that passed away in the collision with the American Airlines flight a few nights ago, and she was only 28 years old. Rebecca was a White House aide to Joe Biden when he was in the White House, and then joined the Army as an aviation officer in July of 2019. She had been awarded the Army Commendation Medal, the Army Achievement Medal, National Defense Service Medal, and the Army Service Ribbon.
See, that's what I'm saying. She's got a lot of accolades.
She's got a lot to like show for. So how did this happen? That's crazy. She got caught in the flood. Her dumbass was still trying to make a video. Classic Zoomer behavior. A person saved her. She said, "We don't need men." He threw her. That's wild. A bit harsh, but wild. Joe Biden aid, it all makes sense now. It could, in fact. It's just weird. It's just this behavior. It's weird. Nothing makes sense here.
Like, and I feel like when you're in the military, and chat, educate me here if I'm wrong, but I feel like when you're in the military, you have to respond to your superiors a lot. And one of the ways you move up, and maybe it's just like this in corporate America, because that's where I'm from, you have to appeal to the hierarchy of power to move up. That's what it is. Like, you can't just be rogue and run amok and do whatever you want and be like, I'm a maverick, I just don't give a shit. And it doesn't work like that. So it seems like she was following commands and she was 28. I'm just so confused at why she didn't at this point.
Now, we knew the name of the other 2 soldiers on the Black Hawk helicopter relatively soon, but her family asked that the Army not release her name until they were ready. They said in a statement, "We are devastated by the loss of our beloved Rebecca. She was a bright star in our lives. Rebecca was a warrior and would not hesitate to defend her country."
What was she defending her country against? A regular airplane? What is this? What the heck? How does this work? How does this work? How does this work? Also, I'm curious, in what way was she ignoring? Like, was she like saying, like, was her higher up saying, like, you need to move out of the way, otherwise you're gonna crash into into a plane? Or like, and then she was like, no? Like, how does this work? How does this happen?
In battle. Lobach was from Durham, North Carolina, and she enlisted in the National Guard back in college in 2018.
It seems like it was intentionally done. With all the information coming out about this DCA crash with the Black Hawk helicopter.
I mean, I'm going to keep it a thou wow, dude, in chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you agree. I feel like if you intentionally did not follow instructions from a superior, you made a choice. It goes back to my whole philosophy of, like, what you're not changing, you're choosing. And so she chose to do nothing when she could have changed what she was doing and followed instructions, followed orders. So it's a
kind of like no answer is also an answer. But true, if you don't make... No choice is a choice, technically. You're making a choice, regardless. She saw the demons in the plane. I don't know what... This can only boil down to mental illness. It would be huge if it was like a I don't listen to a man thing. This has to boil... This got to be... The reason has to be mental illness. That's the only way this makes sense. And that's the only way I can reason with this.
a little odd to me that she didn't do anything. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think this was intentional, chat? Put a 1 in the chat if you agree.
The commercial airplane, fingers are pointing to the fact that Rebecca LeBach intentionally did this. That's what it's leaning toward. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but earlier this year, the Black Hawk helicopter with Rebecca LeBach, she was the pilot, she was training, being overseen by somebody who was higher than her, and there were other occupants on that helicopter, collided with the commercial plane while they were landing in the DCA airport. Now,
and doesn't that have to be like, once again, educate me here if I'm wrong here, chat. I feel like the likeliness of a Black Hawk hitting a passenger plane, that is like 1 in a shrillion, bruh. That's very difficult. I bet people trying to do it would even maybe fail, but like that seems very difficult to do.
That it's just like, it's just dumb. Gotta hope she had a reason and it wasn't just to defy a man. I hope so, please. This be terrible. That's why I would love to hear what would happen between like the higher up and her. Do we get anything? Airport, move down, land the lady. I hate my boss, and rising up. The woman be like, I don't need a man. Straight into the next plane. I would probably assume that if people would try, would probably definitely fail.
No?
Now, both aircrafts crashed over the Potomac River, and there were no survivors, none at all. And we were wondering, well, what happened? Maybe she didn't see, maybe she turned. But then remember, there was the recordings coming out from the tower where the tower explicitly said, hey, you know, there's this plane coming in, and she still didn't listen. So let's go ahead and read through what's being reported now. The pilot of the Black Hawk helicopter that collided with the American Airlines passenger airplane did not comply with the directions to change course seconds before the fatal incident, a bombshell new report has revealed. On the night of January 29th, Army Black Hawk pilot Captain Rebecca LeBach was conducting an annual flight evaluation with her co-pilot, Chief...
Bro, this is totally out of pocket, but what if you drove a Black Hawk and your name was Mike Hawk? Horrible.
Why did you do that? Obi, why? That was not needed to be there, bro. It just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. I need to hear what her response to the avoid this plane message was.
Oak, I'm sorry, chat. I do apologize.
Warrant Officer 2, Andrew Eves, who was serving as her flight instructor. 3 months on, new details published by the New York Times revealed that the pilot made more than one mistake, leading to one of the worst catastrophes in aviation history. Not only was LeBach flying her Black Hawk too high, but in the final moments before the impact, she failed to take advice and instruction from her co-pilot to switch course.
Huh? Multiple mistakes have been made? What the fuck are we doing? What?
Now, here, I'll give her this. Maybe she was freaking out. I've seen that women's response to high-stress situations typically isn't as good as men's. Unless you're a female nurse or a woman doctor or things like that. They're used to being in those high-anxiety-ridden...
True, because men can overall handle stress better than women do. Not to confuse with healthy, because even though men and women handle the same stress level different, it still kills men way earlier. But yeah, that is true. That is true. But bro, what about 3 soldiers? So there were 2 other people in there. Did nobody try to stop her?
Spaces, you know. But in most scenarios, from what I've encountered, when things start to go south, the men are the ones that are cool, calm, collected, and the women are the ones that freak out. So maybe she had a freak out. Maybe she's like, oh my God, what's going on? It was 2 female pilots. Maybe they were both freaking out. I don't know. Maybe that's what happened.
LeBach's piloting skills were being tested during the evaluation on the fateful night, before the crew were informed that an aircraft was nearby, according to the report. Just 15 seconds before colliding with the commercial airplane, air traffic control told LeBach and Eves to turn left, but she did not do so.
That, to me, seems like willful negligence. Like, you could have just turned left. NASCAR drivers do it all the time. You seen that South Park episode where Cartman's like, I'm going to get in there, I'm going to hit the track, I'm going to push the pedal down, and I'm going to turn left. I feel like turning left would have been probably way easier.
Seconds before...
Would have probably also been way safer, considering how many people died. But they said 3 soldiers. So was there another soldier in the plane? As a passenger? Bro. And what was... You cannot tell me that both of these ladies start crashing out. Especially when they already made multiple mistakes.
Impact, co-pilot Eves then turned to LeBach in the cockpit and told her that air traffic control wanted her to turn left. She still did not do so. Yikes. Investigators may never know why LeBach did not change course that day. Might I add that 67 people lost their life that night. And people were so upset with Trump.
She literally just said, nah? By the way, for any illegal airplane, there's 2 to 4 pilots. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. What the fuck are we? How? She really just straight up ignored it? So she willfully ignored it, huh?
Saying that it was DEI, right? A lot of the questions that come up about DEI, and I know that when people hear DEI, they think, oh, black, he's attacking black. But at the root of the issue is competency. Yes. Competency. And I don't know any competent, cognitively well person that would fail to follow directions when their life could be in danger. Not only...
Big facts to this woman. Completely agree.
So there is a chance that they put her in there because she was a woman, and they potentially did not make sure that this lady, this woman, is mentally well. There is the chance for that. Bro, what the fuck?
Dude, the whole DEI thing, they should respell it to DIE. But I don't care about your racial background, your ethnicity, your poverty, whatever.
What was the saying with DEI? People die? Was it? I think that's something like that. Somebody said something like that according to that line. Bro, what are we doing? What are we doing? That's why I'm saying the one that is the most competent should get the job, not the one that has the right skin color, the right body parts, the right identity. Just the one that can do the job the best.
Whatever it is, I care about competency, not diversity. Chat, put one in the chat if you agree. I care about competency, not diversity. I want the best pilots. I want the best, people making our food. I want the best of everything. I don't want anybody just there because it's like, we're just trying to fill a quota. No.
Their life, but other people's life. So I know we'll probably never know, but I would like to know, why did she do it? Was it intentional?
All right, so I'm sure by now a lot of you guys have already heard the news that the other pilot in the Black Hawk that crashed into the American Airlines flight over D.C. over the Potomac was a Captain Rebecca Loback. And I wanted to make a video about this because I just realized last night that she is a local from Durham, North Carolina. And we both went to the same college together. Not the same time, but we both went to the same college. So Captain Rebecca Loback was a ROTC student at Chapel Hill. I was an
Bro, I don't know about y'all, but the kids that did ROTC in high school, I was always like, they're a little off. Like, they use the ROTC like they was for real in the military. Like, you're talking to a future Marine. It's like, dude, you're in ROTC in high school. Like, calm down. You're not enlisted. Like, a lot of those guys just took it so serious. I mean, and I appreciate everybody that has served, and I've got veterans in my family. Like, I appreciate those guys. But the ROTC kids in high school, I was always like, there's something off with these guys.
ROTC student at Chapel Hill for the Naval ROTC program when I was going through my enlisted commissioning program. Not only was she a student at the ROTC program at Chapel Hill, but she was a distinguished graduate, which means that she knocked it out of the park.
This is odd, though. She has all these credentials, but then she flies into an airplane? How does this happen? How does this work? How can you have all these credentials and then fly into an airplane?
Yeah, she's good.
I've had a lot of people telling me that she was one of the most loving, kind human beings that they've ever encountered in their life. So I wanted to express my heartfelt condolences to her friends and family for their loss.
Yeah, man, it's not making sense. Like, if 2 plus 2 is 4, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. She was in the ROTC thing. She crushed it. People liked her. She was a captain. She was a young captain. She was 28. She had done more by the time she was 28 than I had done, I'll tell you that. But I was still trying to find my rear end at 28. Like, it just...
What the fuck? That's not saying, but okay. Yeah, she seems competent, so it's weird. Or at least she seems normal, which is weird.
Doesn't make sense why she would. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe she was so full of gusto and confidence that she thought, oh, I know what I'm doing, leave me alone. That's why I think there's something that men understand that women sometimes don't get, is like killing your ego. Men aren't as emotionally driven, whereas women typically are. Men are more logically driven. So we understand that you got to leave your ego at the door. Marquette Devon talks about this. I don't know if you guys have seen him talk about this, but Marquette Devon, he was on the Fresh and Fit podcast. He talks about when boys and girls are left to unstructured play, what happens. It also correlates to Bear Grylls, The Island. But he talks about boys and girls being left to unstructured play. When girls are left to unstructured play, they just end the game. They stop playing entirely because they want to be so egalitarian. They want everybody to get the same outcome. They want everybody to get the equal income, equal outcome.
Yeah, that reminds me of the one video we watched where a group of men and a group of women were on an island and they were just trying to figure out who does it the best. While the women were trying to build like everyone, everyone like this, again, egalitarian like system, the guys immediately made out the one as the one that is the most competent as the leader. And the women obviously failed because eventually they needed to stop because one of the ladies started to become she started to be like almost die. For the guys that wasn't the case, because the guys started just straight up hunting alligators. They didn't care. So yes, kinda. I do see that sometimes.
And it just falls apart. They can't go back to a hierarchy and continue the game. When the boys are left to unstructured play,
Also, like in like gym classes, like the guys, like we as guys, we immediately quickly established who was the leader. And for the ladies, it always took a little bit.
They create hierarchies. There's a captain, there's officers, there's enforcers, and then there's guys that are more, I guess, pawns in the game. You got your pawns, your knights, your rooks, your bishops, and your king, right? When conflict arises, the boys address the hierarchy. They go through, they do conflict resolution, and then they continue the game. Girls don't do that. They're more egalitarian. If you guys want to see this in real time, I have a video where I break down Bear Grylls, the island, and like the first 2 weeks, the women are getting dysentery. It's like a game of Oregon Trail.
Homie needs to leave the soundboard alone. I agree. I agree. Men are emotional, but the emotion is usually anger, which can be useful when harnessed correctly. Women get overwhelmed, which isn't helpful. True, true. It's also, I think men are like, usually like, when it comes to emotions, we kind of feel those, but it's also like, first of all, not in that intensity. And also, like, oftentimes we just don't even know what to do with them. So usually anger is the one we resort to. You got dumped on? Yes, angry. Somebody talks bad about you? Angry. It's just like, yeah, fuck yeah. It's like, I don't know, just that.
It's like, John died of dysentery. You ran out of corn. It really is bad. It's really horrible. Like, these women are suffering, I think it's kidney failure, and the producers are on the phone with them saying, ladies, if you ladies don't get this together, we're gonna have to end the show. Like, you're starting to have kidney failure because you're not drinking enough water. They had 2 canteens that they could have for water. They ruined the first one because they caught a pig and cut it up, put it inside the canteen.
You stupid.
And then dug underground and then put the canteen underground because they thought that underground would be colder and it would refrigerate the meat. You think I'm making this up, buddy? The stories really write themselves. You think I'm not making this up. This is for real though, my dildo. It's crazy to, like, when you watch it, you're like, wow, you got to be another level of freaking stupid to think that.
That's crazy to mess it up that much. Because women have larger brains and therefore a larger capacity to feel emotion. It's harder for us to process them. Okay, okay. You didn't even know that about that it's larger. Crazy.
So they dig up that one canteen with all this pork meat, with all this pig meat, and it's ruined. It's like, it smells sour. Of course the food is rotted, the meat's rotted, and so they're like, okay, that one's done. We can't do anything in that. And they have this one other canteen, and they're like boiling water. They put, because you got to boil that water out there. You can get sick, bro. They're boiling the water on a fire. Nobody's watching the water canteen, and it just tips over and just empties out all their water.
Stupid.
Whoa, that's incompetency if I've ever heard it. But the just pig everywhere. You ruin your water supply? What?
And the guys, it'll cut to the guys, they're just flourishing. Absolutely flourishing. They're catching fish, they're gaining weight, they're building hammocks, they're playing games, they're having the times of their lives. But women just aren't because they're so egalitarian. And then it cuts to a clip of them just talking around a campfire, and they're like, ladies, we need to do something, we need to figure this out. And they're like, yeah, but I want everybody to be, we all need to make decisions, we all need to help, we all need to, and then one of the other women's like, but Rebecca, that's not working. Like,
yeah, it's just everybody, you have a leader, and then everybody just does the best that they can do. I think that's just like, I don't know, just in extreme situations, equality just goes out of the window. It just goes out of the window. Equality in extreme situations, there is no equality because survival is the main focus. What the heck? If I'm ever stuck in the woods or something, I hope it's with men. Oh my god. It's just first of all, I hope I'll never be stuck in the woods. But if it was the case, I'd probably pick dudes too.
Like, Sarah over there is having kidney failure, so we need to, like, switch it up. And they just had to end it. The guys could have stayed out there for 7 months, but the women could barely be out there for 7 days. And even when the women did catch the pig, it was real sus. This pig was, like, tied up. This pig was, like, harnessed in something. The dudes are catching alligators with their bare hands, bro, and like sharks, bro. It's
Wait, he is in fact talking about that video. He is in fact talking about when they like the survival thing. That's the same where he acted to. The dudes were like straight up catching alligators and cooking them. They had like no trouble at all doing this. They didn't struggle.
insane. You got to go watch it. If you haven't seen it, it is truly.
And the women, it was actually worse. The women were essentially running in circles. They started somewhere, kept walking, and ended up at the same spot again. With no water, nothing. That was the interesting part also. They just ran in the circle.
A spectacle.
Oh, look at this good boy! The goodest boy! Or girl. The goodest girl, the goodest boy. It's just a dog. I love dogs.
Somebody want some? Here, let's do this. Wait. Can we get some freeze in the chat? Free. Boy.
Good boy! Let's go!
No Morgan and Morgan. We typically do like monthly deals. So the last month deal is over, sadly. We'll probably renew. Just keeping you guys updated because I know you just love that stupid Morgan and Morgan ad. It's so ridiculous. But no, I love Morgan and Morgan. They're great. Let's see here. Let's get back into this.
Just released the name and images of the female pilot that was involved in the Black Hawk incident plane crash in Washington, D.C. This is Captain Rebecca Lobach. She was only 28 years old.
It still does make no sense. All of this makes no sense. Why did she do this? In defense of those women, though, men are supposed to be protectors and providers in survival situations. Obviously, if you separate the groups, then the men will flourish more. Yeah, it naturally makes more sense, yeah. Women depend on men more in situations like that than the men do on women. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. I think it just disproves this idea of men not needing women and women not needing men. This weird agenda, which is bullshit.
The day of the plane crash, and her family wanted to keep her identity private until now, which they've just released a few hours ago. She served in the military for almost 6 years, and she was also an aide to the White House during the Joe Biden administration. Here's an image of her serving our country, and while she was in the Army, she achieved many different medals, like the Army Accommodation Medal and the Army Achievement Medal, along with the National Defense Service Medal and Army Service Ribbon. And there was a lot of rumors that came out about her, even though people didn't know who she was, saying that she was a transgendered individual, which she is not. But the Army did have this to say about her, that Rebecca was a warrior and would not hesitate to defend her country. And though she has a lot of flight experience, mistakes are sometimes made. I know a lot of people want to put mistakes and blame on a woman. She was being overseen by a chief warrant officer who would have taken control in the event of an emergency. Mistakes were made, and that's just not how things panned out.
But bro, I feel like the likeliness that they would crash is gotta be low, chat.
It probably has to be. But they so stupid. So see dog, pause, good boy. It's just like it just does not add up. It just makes no sense. Like this has to happen deliberately. Like she has to have planned this. But even if she plans this, it's like the chances that she would hit it are pretty low. Especially since I would assume that the airplane was warned as well that a pilot, like somebody else, a different aircraft was coming towards them. It just makes no sense.
Am I way off base for thinking that? I feel like in the aviation industry, they have some of the highest safety protocols. You don't hear about this stuff a lot. You don't hear about planes going down a ton. You really don't. So it's wild to me that...
Except if they're a Boeing, then that's a different situation. They love to go down, apparently.
That's what happened. They collided and went down. But it goes back to my whole entire thing of like, women typically, and it's not all the time, but women typically abusing power when men don't. This is why I believe matriarchies don't work. Because patriarchies create hierarchies inside the patriarchy and say, all right, this is the figurehead of the man. he pushes commands down to the enforcers, and the enforcers, you know, make the things happen, right? With women, they want it to be so, you know, everything one needs to be equal. It's egalitarian in a sense, so nothing can get done because whether you want to believe it or not, Ripley's believe.
If nobody does anything, if nobody is in charge, nothing happens. It's not just like a patriarchal or matriarchal thing. If nobody has the say, nothing gets done. You can already group works of students, right? They turn out really bad if no leader is established. It takes ages if nobody takes charge. You need somebody you need a leader regardless of what happens. You need hierarchy. You need somebody who says like, okay, you do this, you do this, you do that. Otherwise, nothing gets done. It's like you can't have equality in such things. It doesn't work. It just doesn't. You need some form of leadership.
Believe it or not, you can't make everybody happy when you make decisions. No leader can. Chat, put a 1 in the chat if you agree. Even with the whole...
No, if everybody's equal, there is no leader. There is nobody who takes charge. Yeah, I think even women are less likely to take orders from a woman because they're less commanding, probably. I don't know. It's just like you need somebody to run. You need somebody to run this stuff.
Presidency right now. There's certain things that he does that make certain people mad, make certain people happy. Not every decision that you do is going to make everyone happy. It's just the same thing when you're like a free thinker or a commentator like myself. Like, not everything I say you guys are going to agree with. But I think the beautiful thing is that you guys can come here, we can have a good time, and we can agree on most things. Maybe we don't agree on everything, and I think that's totally okay. I think we need to get back to a point where people can agree to disagree. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember them times?
Oh, you need to leave that soundboard alone. True. We are gone in the we have gone away from the times where like, okay, we disagree, but we can have a respectful conversation. We can talk. Those times are gone. Cause if you're on the right and somebody says something to you that you don't agree with, then it's like, call me. And on the other side, it's like, you don't agree with me, you're a Nazi. That's the two extremes we have. I want to go back to the times where, like, people weren't as offended as they are now, as sensitive as they are now. I miss those times.
I remember back in my day, you could agree to disagree, and you could still be buddies. You could still share a cold beer with your buddy from agreeing to disagree. Nowadays, it's like people are looking for someone that 100% agrees with them. And I think it bleeds off and gets muddy in the water of the dating market. Women want men that just agree with them 100% on everything. It's like they want...
That's why relationships also are fucked up. Because, like, you want equality in the relationship, but then nobody takes charge, then nothing happens. Nobody initiates anything. Nobody does dates. Because, you know, if you take charge, you're toxic. It's like, what do you do? What do you do with that? I'd rather, as a man, just take charge of in the relationship. I prefer that.
Liberal-minded men, but then they want him to have conservative values?
You stupid.
You want him to provide and protect and love you unconditionally, but you want him to want free health care and want him to also stay home and raise the kids, but, you know, let you work, but also pay your bills. It's like, what do you ladies really want? So I think we're gonna see a shift here in the next few years where women go back to wanting traditionally conservative men. Right.
Oh yeah, it's already happening. Like, there's trad wives. They're not particularly trad. They still go to work. But I think they're a symptom of what is currently happening, which is people go back to established structures because this society that we're trying to create, that this is this androgynous blob where, like, there's no rules, nothing, no identity, because, you know, you can be whatever you want to be. And I feel like people are going back to those older structures because they give direction. They give you an idea of what you're supposed to do. They give you, like, a way to go. So I think that's the reason. People go back to these older structures because they work. I don't have to think much. I just have to fulfill my role. It's simple. It's easy. Just makes sense. I miss those times too, Poke. Good times. Good times. Good times. Truly. Peak.
Now, being conservative is radical. Chat, put a 1 in the chat if you agree. I remember back in my day when being liberal was radical. Oh, we're liberal. They dye their hair. They put piercings in their face. That's the new norm now. What's radical now is being conservative. Just wild to me. Have a low body.
Hey, I'm a real. I can live with that. If people call me a Nazi or weird shit because I'm more conservative, I do not care. I'm an extremist. I don't care. It's just like I'm saying again. Nobody does a better job at making people conservative or right wing than leftists, especially on Twitter.
Count. Don't be promiscuous. Go to church. Treat women with respect. Treat men with respect. Help out your community. That's radical. It's like, what? What? How do we get to this point? It's crazy times that we're living in. Ain't that right, Lokes? It's insane what we're going through. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Let me know what you think about this entire episode. Did you like this kind of stuff? Should we do a little bit of news and try to bleed it off into the modern dating market? Let me know. I love your feedback, but I really do appreciate you guys. I will see you guys tomorrow, man. Peace.
Interesting. So he usually talks about dating instead of like this. Interesting, though. Okay, so what we got from this, we had a female pilot that just didn't listen and just crashed into an airplane. That's what we got. We have no idea why. We don't know. We can only speculate. All we know is that it was probably intentional because she didn't listen. It's also weird that the co-pilot didn't try to stop her. Like if I was in a plane, like in a helicopter, and a pilot was acting up and doing weird shit and try to fly towards an airplane, I would be like violently grabbing whatever I can to move that thing to the left to dodge it. Even if I die, so the other people at least don't have to die. But it's just odd. It's just weird. This could be DEI. This could be a mentally ill person. It could be everything. We just have no idea. But hey, social values did a whole 180. Very true. They did. They in fact did. I hope that we can pull back a little bit from that. And hopefully it fixes a bunch of things. Anyways, like, comment, and subscribe.